Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story about a memorable encounter at a garden nursery where karma played a surprising role. A few years ago, there was this customer who left quite an impression. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Finally got payback on an ex-coworker. This was a few years ago, but it ran across my mind today for some reason. When I was 20, I started a job as a teller at Wells Fargo. At the specific location, it was a trailer, or that's what we called it anyway. Just picture a super long, skinny building. Also, this was only for drive-thru. It was located next to the actual bank. This drive-thru had 8 drive-ups and 2 pull-ups for merchants. The merchant pull-ups were literally on the building and the others were in front. Picture a Sonic fast food place. 4 of the drive-ups were on one side of the trailer and another on the other side. It took at least 5 of us to man this thing on a slow day. Well, one day my boss let everyone go to lunch at once except for 3 of us, myself, Kim, and Jessica. Well, my half of the trailer, where I was completely by myself, had to man the 4 drive-thrus and the merchant. If you know, doing the merchant is time-consuming. There's typically a lot of cash being deposited, which takes time, obviously, to count, etc. Well, on this day, Kim and Jessica just didn't feel like working. Literally just sat there as I was trying to help 5 separate people at once. Jessica walks over and tells me to hurry up, and people are waiting. I looked at her in disbelief. I asked her to help, while Kim just sat there staring at me. I got so pissed off, I called Jessica a B. Straight up. Well, my idiot boss comes back from her lunch and Jessica goes straight to her and complains about me. I got written up. My boss could not have cared less of the circumstances, oblivious to the lack of scheduling on her part. Whatever. Anyway, I ended up getting fired because Jessica just couldn't let it go. She was traumatized. Also didn't help my boss kept making me work the merchant line. If you know about being a teller, you know that being a merchant teller requires experience. This was my first teller job ever. Okay, so the fun part. Years later, I opened an account at a local credit union. It was just an account for fun money. Totally forgot about it after like a year and realized it was in the negative. Can't even remember how that happened, but it was literally like $3. So I go in to take care of it, and lo and behold, there's Jessica. She immediately recognized me. I go to the counter, and another girl pulls up my account. I immediately tell her why I'm there, of course. Well, Jessica sees this as an opportunity to embarrass me. Also, there's at least 4 other account holders in the small lobby. The teller that's helping me had to call a number to reset the account. Well, Jessica walks over, leans over this girl, and loudly says her account is in the negative. She needs to pay that first, then glares at me and smirks. Oh, hell no. So I let the girl finish the call and get things squared away, get my account to like a $100 balance. Not much, but again, this is just my fun money account. I head out the door, and if damn be me, I run into the branch manager. I tell her about Jessica and that I was considering closing my account over it. Well, about 2 hours later, I get a call from the branch manager, and she apologized profusely and told me Jessica had been let go because it wasn't the first complaint about her and not the first time she'd been unprofessional. The universe blessed you with a totally random interaction with the a-hole that burned you before. And when she tried to burn you again, you hit her with the Uno reverse card. Well played. And our second story. Don't talk back to the supervisor? Okay, then I won't talk back to the supervisor. When I was 18, I used to work at a fast food restaurant. At the time of this happening, I was working in the kitchen and had 2 coworkers with me, my best friend and a newish girl. We were in a rush, and my coworkers and I were doing all we could to get the food out as fast as possible. My best friend and I had about 1 year working there, so we were kind of used to the rush by now. But our other coworker had like a month working in the kitchen, and she was doing all she could. Apparently, that wasn't enough to the supervisor in charge of our shift because she came, in the middle of the rush, mind you, to scold our coworker because she was just lazing around. My best friend and I got mad, not only because the scolding was unnecessary, but because we were still mid-rush and the supervisor was just wasting our time. So I said something along the lines of, "Why don't you just leave her alone? She's new and you're just making it worse. If she's being so slow, you should help us." It was normal for the supervisor to step in to help if we were stuck, but this one didn't do that, and she now got mad at me and started yelling things at me, but at this point I was just ignoring her. When the rush passed, I was called to the manager's office, and the manager and her berated me for talking back to a supervisor. They made me sign some paper where I promised to never talk back to a supervisor again. So like 30 minutes pass and I'm on my break, and the supervisor comes to me trying to make some small talk. I proceed to ignore her, and she gets mad when she notices that I'm not answering her questions. So I calmly reply, "Didn't I just sign a paper where I promised that I would never talk back to you?" She then got even more mad and left me to enjoy the rest of my break. There are two types of leaders: the guy who helps and leads the team, or the guy who cracks the whip and gets poorer results. The beatings will continue until morale improves. And our next story. Work fridge bandit. So I work at a plant nursery that has me out in the field all day. At lunch, we come into the lunchroom that has a large upright fridge, much like you'd find in a deli or a gas station. I also live in Texas, so it's blazing hot, for a little background. About a month after I started there, I started bringing my lunch because it was more convenient than going out to grab something. I had a lunchbox that was very clearly labeled as mine, as well as being the only camo lunchbox in there. Doubles as a lightweight beer cooler during deer season. Well, the first week or two go fine, but about midway through the third week, I start noticing things missing. First, it was a bag of chips or a Slim Jim, just the little stuff. Then it started being one of my 3 sandwiches or an entire bowl of roast I made. Now, I'm well known for being incredibly petty. I also really like my food, so obviously I had to do something. Well, I'm very unassuming when it comes to my tastes in food. I'm just your average white guy, nothing special, except for the fact that I love blazing hot food. So what did I do? I made a super hot curry. Figured that'd solve the problem real fast. But no. Whoever it was took my curry, ate it, and left the empty bowl in the middle of the lunchroom. Okay, so now, not only am I petty, but I'm mad too. So that night I went to the store and bought the stuff for tuna sandwiches. Bought all the stuff except the relish because I decided to make my own. I went out to my garden and started digging through my peppers to make a relish/pico demon child. A combination of purple cayenne, bird's eye chilies, 2 reapers, a ghost, and a habanero later, I have a batch of tuna that could eat the steel off the bumper of a truck. Cue the revenge. I happily make my lunch knowing that whoever steals my food may end up having the worst day of their life. I go to work like usual, put my lunchbox up front in plain view instead of trying to hide it in the back. Then I go to work. My lunch starts at 1, but there's a lunch that starts at 12:30 and overlaps till 1:30. About 12:45, I hear sirens. It's an ambulance, and I'm like, oh, now what happened? Work around a lot of heavy equipment, so a lot can go wrong. Turns out that the older gentleman that had been taking my food decided to help himself to one of my sandwiches and found out the hard way that he had ulcers. He was in so much pain that a coworker had called the EMT because they didn't know what was wrong with him. So my lunch comes and they're still there trying to help him. So I walk around, grab my lunchbox, and sit down a few tables away in clear view of the old man and the EMT and proceed to eat my other 2 sandwiches like nothing happened. Best part, he never touched my food again. That was 2 years ago. Until this day, all of my food is accounted for. He ended up being fine, but had to go to the hospital that day to be treated for severe ulcers that had been seriously agitated by that tuna. The best part? It wasn't sabotage. You like spicy food and ate the other sandwiches before his very eyes. And our last story. Police scratched my car and don't want to pay for it. Last summer, I was pulled over on the highway for not having my front license plate on. For a little background, I'm a male in my mid-20s and was driving my little sporty car that I don't drive much, only in nice weather. This car's more of a hobby than anything and stands out quite a bit. The officer came up to my window and immediately asked me why I'm so nervous. I thought it was weird of him to greet me like this, to the point where I thought maybe he was joking. He asked for my license and registration and told me to come back to his vehicle. He patted me down and had me sit in his car with him. The whole time he kept asking me if I have something illegal in the car and why I'm so nervous. Now, I thought being nervous when being pulled over is a common reaction for people to have, but I admit I am a very nervous person and always have been. I have had anxiety most of my life, severe at times, especially in social situations and interactions. I had no big reason to be nervous other than from being pulled over, as I had nothing to hide. I had nothing illegal in my car and never have. He kept saying things like, "I know you don't have a lot. It's less than an ounce you have with you, right?" I was being very cooperative and telling him the truth. Unfortunately, the truth wasn't what he wanted to hear. Some time went by and finally he gave me my warning and told me I'm free to go. He finished up some small talk saying he's just really concerned about my nervousness. He then said, "Actually, do you mind at all if I search your car? It bothers me how nervous you seem." I told him I'd rather not, as I was already running late. My mom and dad were waiting for me. He told me that if I don't let him search, then he's going to have a K9 unit come and that I don't have a choice with. So I was made to wait about 20 minutes for the officer with the dog to show up. He finally gets there, and now there are 3 cop cars and a dog. The other one came for backup while I was sitting in the car waiting. I figured that it would be a quick walk around my car and I'd be free to go since the dog wouldn't smell anything. I was wrong. The officer with the dog came up to talk to me before the search and was being really cocky and an a-hole to me. I politely showed concern to him that I don't want my car scratched from the dog and asked him if the dog jumps up and puts his paws on my car to where it would scratch my paint. He replies with a smile, "Oh yeah, the dog will leave scratches all over your car. So whatever you have, you should just give up if you don't want your car scratched." I told him I don't have anything to give up, but don't want my car scratched up, and that I would open up the doors to let him smell inside so he's not jumping against my paint. He said they'll do what they need to do. I told him that if there were any scratches, I'll hold them liable, since my paint is new and doesn't have a single scratch. So he said, well, if and when we do find something, we will not pay for anything. As he led the dog around my car, he held his hand at the top of my car, almost sure he had a treat in his hand, and laughed as the dog jumped up against my car. He came back to me with a big grin after the dog went around my whole car, said the dog had a hit by the passenger front fender, which was also their starting point, searched my car for 40 minutes, even pulling up and breaking interior panels. Of course, didn't find anything. Their attitudes completely changed. Talked to me in a soft voice now while looking at the ground, told me I'm free to go. I went back and talked to their supervisor that night, who confirmed there's scratches all around my car from them. I took about 40 pictures of the damage, both before and after I washed my car, so you could clearly see it was fresh scratches. I got an estimate the next day, and it was $2,800. The county denied the claim, so it went to their insurance. The adjuster met with me and the sheriff that did this and obviously sided with him. He told me that a lot of the damage was barely noticeable, so he's not going to cover it, only the 3 bad scratches. Keep in mind that my paint was new and perfect before this. He talked to a detailing shop in town and sent me there for an estimate. I went there, and he acted like it wasn't a big deal and wrote an estimate for $100, if he could do it without repainting. Said he could fill in the scratches, which is only temporarily covering the damage, not permanently fixing it, for $100. He said they're deep scratches, but he'll try to get them out and then go from there. He then told me, in his opinion, if he can't get them out, he'd just leave the scratches there because it might be hard to blend it in and it might look worse if the paint doesn't match perfectly. The adjuster first told me that he'll pay a shop to try to buff it out, and if they can't get it completely buffed out, then we'd talk about getting it repainted. He just sent me an email saying that if I sign a release, he'll pay me the $100. If I'd sign the release, I can guarantee he won't pay me any more if they are unable to buff it out completely like he had originally talked about. $100 is such a lowball offer compared to the amount of damage they purposely caused, and will no way get my car close to pre-accident condition. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.